I never thought I'd be the guy whose wife would cheat on him. I'm Jake, 36 years old, a software engineer, and I've always prided myself on being the kind of husband who treats his wife like a queen. My wife, Sarah, is 34, a beauty with long blonde hair and a smile that could light up a room. We met in college and the chemistry was undeniable. We married 5 years ago, and for a long time it felt like a fairy tale. But lately, things had shifted. At first, it was the little things. Sarah started working late more often. She claimed it was because of an important project, but I could tell something was off. The texts she used to send me throughout the day dwindled to just a couple of emojis or a quick "I'm busy." I tried to shrug it off. Maybe she was just stressed. We all get busy, right? But the more I tried to ignore it, the more it gnawed at me. One night I came home early, hoping to surprise her with dinner. As I entered our home, I could hear her talking on the phone in our bedroom. I didn't catch everything she said, but I distinctly heard her laugh, a laugh I hadn't heard in a long time. It was the kind of laugh she used to have when she was with her college friends, light and carefree. I stood there frozen, listening as she flirted and teased. "Oh, you're so bad," she said, followed by more laughter. My stomach twisted. I felt an uncomfortable knot forming in my throat. I didn't confront her that night. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Maybe it was just a friend. Maybe she was just venting. I convinced myself of that, but the feeling festered. Days passed, filled with an underlying tension. When I finally found the courage to look through her phone, I was met with a sinking feeling as I saw texts from someone named Mark. I didn't recognize the name, but the messages were unmistakable. They were flirty and suggestive, filled with inside jokes and references to meetups. The worst part was the late-night calls. I saw the log. Several times she had been on the phone with him until the early hours of the morning. I felt like I was suffocating. I had to know the truth. I confronted her the next evening, heart pounding in my chest, ready for whatever was coming my way. "Sarah, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady but strained. I made sure she could see the hurt in my eyes. She was sitting on the couch, her usual spot, scrolling mindlessly through her phone. "What's up?" she asked, barely looking up. I took a deep breath. I found the texts from Mark. Her expression shifted, only slightly, but enough for me to see that she knew she was caught. "Jake, it's not what you think," she exclaimed, her voice suddenly defensive. "Then what is it?" I asked, my tone edged with anger. "Because it looks pretty damn clear to me." She stammered, trying to piece together an explanation. "He's just a friend from work, we're just joking around." "Joking around? Sarah, you're calling him babe and talking about how much fun you had last weekend. What the hell is going on?" I saw her face pale as she tried to come up with something, anything, that would make this all go away. I wanted her to fight for us, to admit her stake, to show me she cared, but all I got was more excuses. "I was lonely, Jake. You're always busy with work and I didn't want to burden you," she finally said, tears streaming down her face. It felt like I'd been slapped. The betrayal hit me like a freight train. I had given her everything and she tossed it aside like it meant nothing. As I processed her words, something inside me snapped. I felt the anger rising. "Is this what you call a friendship? Because it feels like a betrayal to me." Her eyes widened and I could see the realization of how much she had hurt me, but I was already too far gone. I needed a moment to process this, to think. The emotional impact crashed over me like a wave. I felt everything at once: anger, sadness, disbelief. How could she do this? How could she betray the trust we built? I couldn't stay in that room, suffocated by her lies. I left, slamming the door behind me. I needed air, a chance to think. The night was heavy, and I wandered the streets trying to make sense of what had just happened. As I walked, the sting of betrayal burned deep. This wasn't just a momentary lapse. This was something I never thought I would face. I had to decide what to do moving forward, and every option seemed daunting. What I thought was love had morphed into something twisted, and I was left with the remnants of a shattered trust. I didn't know where this would lead me, but I knew I was done being a fool. It was time for a reckoning, and I needed to figure out how to reclaim my life. I spent the night wandering aimlessly, my mind racing through the memories I had with Sarah. The laughter, the moments of intimacy, the plans we made together, it all felt tainted now. I pulled out my phone, staring at her contact picture and the countless photos of us together, and I couldn't help but feel a mix of love and anger. The woman I thought I knew had just shattered everything we had built. Was this who she really was, or had I just been blind to the signs? When morning arrived, I still hadn't made it home. I parked my car a few blocks away and sat in the driver's seat, staring at the steering wheel. I replayed that confrontation in my head, wishing I had been able to say something more cutting, something that would make her feel as betrayed as I did. But deep down, I knew I wasn't that kind of person. I never wanted to be angry, but she had pushed me there. I eventually drove back home, a heavy weight in my chest. The house felt empty as I walked through the door. Sarah was still asleep, her long blonde hair sprawled across the pillow, the sunlight filtering through the curtains and casting a warm glow over her. I wanted to shake her awake and demand answers, but I paused, feeling an unexpected pang of sadness. This was the woman I loved, even if she had betrayed me. Instead of confronting her again, I decided to take a step back. I needed to think clearly. I spent the next few hours pacing around my living room, trying to figure out my next move. I couldn't shake the feeling that things were going to get messier before they got better. I opened my laptop and started researching infidelity, trying to understand the psychological aspects behind it. Was it something I had done, or was it just her? A part of me wanted to talk to someone to make sense of my feelings, but I didn't want to burden my friends with the details just yet. They'd never look at Sarah the same way again. Instead, I came across a forum dedicated to similar stories, and I started reading through posts of people who had faced betrayal. It was comforting in a twisted way. I wasn't alone in this. As the morning turned to afternoon, I decided it was time to face Sarah again. I found her in the kitchen making coffee like nothing had happened. She looked up, her eyes brightening as she saw me. "I'm glad you're home," she said, trying to sound cheerful. I took a deep breath, preparing myself for what was about to unfold. "We need to talk," I said, cutting through her facade. Her smile faltered and she glanced away, the tension between us palpable. "Jake, I'm sorry about last night. I was just what, Sarah? Lonely, that's your excuse. You think a late-night chat with some guy is okay when I'm at work." My voice was rising, the anger bubbling up again. She shifted uncomfortably. "I didn't mean for it to go that far. It was just harmless flirting at first. I swear I didn't want to hurt you." "Harmless flirting? Do you really believe that? Because it sure felt like you were crossing lines." I watched her face, desperately searching for sincerity in her eyes. "You have to understand. Things have been different between us for a while now. I thought we were drifting apart. I didn't handle it well. So letting some guy into our home and into your bed was a solution." I shot back, feeling betrayed over and over again. "I never slept with him," she exclaimed, her voice rising in desperation. "We only talked and met up a few times. I swear it was just emotional. It meant nothing." "Emotional? You have feelings for him?" With that question, the room fell silent. I could see the truth in her eyes. She was cornered, and I was not about to let her manipulate me any longer. It was becoming clear that I had to set boundaries. "Listen," I said, trying to channel my anger into something productive. "I don't know what we can do to fix this, but I can't keep pretending everything is okay. I need time to think, and I need you to understand that what you've done is unforgivable right now." "Jake, please don't say that. I love you. I don't want to lose you over this," she pleaded, tears welling in her eyes. "Love? You don't respect me. You don't love me if you can betray me like this." The hurt in her expression made my heart ache, but I couldn't let my compassion blind me to the reality of the situation. I grabbed my keys and walked towards the door, ready to step out again. "I need space. I can't be here right now." "Where are you going?" she called, but I didn't respond. I shut the door behind me, feeling more lost than ever. I wandered through the neighborhood, my mind racing with thoughts. Should I stay and try to work things out, or was this the final straw? I thought about all the times I had been there for her, the sacrifices I had made. It infuriated me to think that she could just toss it aside. After hours of walking, I found myself sitting on a park bench, staring at the trees and the people passing by. I realized I needed to confront the reality of my situation. I had a choice to make, and it wasn't going to be easy. I decided I wouldn't confront her again until I was ready. I needed to formulate a plan, a way to reclaim my dignity and figure out whether there was a path forward or if it was time to cut my losses. And with that thought, I started to consider my options. I knew this was just the beginning of a long, painful journey, one that would test not just our relationship, but my entire perception of love and trust. I had to prepare myself for what was to come, and I was determined to navigate this storm on my own terms. After what felt like an eternity of wandering, I finally returned home. It was late evening, and I found Sarah sitting on the couch, her eyes red and puffy from crying. I could tell she had been worried, but I was still too consumed by my own emotions to feel sympathetic. The tension in the room was palpable as I walked in, and for a moment we just stared at each other, each waiting for the other to break the silence. "Jake," she said softly, her voice breaking, "please, can we talk?" I took a deep breath, my heart pounding. I had no idea how this conversation was going to go, but I knew I needed to be clear about my feelings. "I don't even know where to start," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "You've betrayed me, and it's going to take more than just saying you're sorry to fix this." "I know," she said, her eyes pleading. "I messed up. I was stupid. I don't want to lose you. I love you, and I'll do anything to make this right." I wanted to believe her. Part of me still longed for the life we had together, but another part of me was consumed by betrayal, anger, and a sense of loss for the relationship I thought we had. "You keep saying you love me, but you've shown me otherwise. What you did isn't just a mistake, it's a choice," I said firmly. "I know, I realize that now," she replied, her voice rising in desperation. "I just felt so alone. You were always gone, and I never meant for it to go this far. Mark was just there, and I got caught up in it." "Were you ever going to tell me?" I asked, my heart aching. "Were you just going to keep hiding it until I found out?" "No, I swear I wasn't," she said, her voice breaking. I didn't know how to deal with it. I thought I could convince myself it was nothing." "Nothing," I shot back. "You were calling him babe, sharing things with him that should have been between us. You think that's nothing?" "I'm so sorry, Jake. I can't explain why I did it. I'm ashamed of myself. Please just give me a chance to prove that I can make it right." I wanted to scream. Each plea felt like another stab in my gut. "How can I trust you again?" I asked, my voice low and shaky. "You've broken that trust beyond repair." She shifted closer, reaching for my hand, but I pulled away. "I can't do this right now. I need space to think," I told her, my heart heavy. "Please don't leave me," she begged, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I don't want to lose you. I'll do anything. We can go to couples therapy. I'll cut off all contact with Mark. Just please don't go." Part of me was tempted to stay and comfort her, but I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. I didn't want to be the person who stayed in a relationship just to avoid hurting someone else. I had to prioritize my own emotional well-being. "I need time to process all of this. I can't be here right now," I said, my voice steady despite the chaos churning inside me. I turned toward the door, and she let out a sob that pierced my heart. "Jake, please don't leave." But I walked out, shutting the door behind me. I needed to be alone. I drove aimlessly for a while until I found myself at the local diner. I parked and stepped inside, the familiar atmosphere offering a sense of solace. The warmth of the coffee shop reminded me of simpler times. I sat in a booth, staring out the window as I sipped on a cup of black coffee. My mind was racing, and I couldn't shake the mix of emotions swirling inside me. How did we get here? How could someone I loved so deeply betray my trust so easily? I pulled out my phone again, scrolling through social media. My friends were posting about their lives, vacations, and happy moments. I felt an ache in my chest as I realized how far removed I felt from that happiness. Instead of scrolling further, I decided to reach out to my friend Mike. He was the kind of guy who always had a level head. "Hey man," I texted. "I need to talk. Can we meet up?" He replied almost immediately. "Sure, you okay? You sound serious." "Not really. Can you meet me at the diner?" "On my way." As I waited, I mentally prepared for the conversation. I felt like I was about to unload a heavy burden onto Mike. Would he think I was weak for not just ending things with Sarah? A part of me felt ashamed for needing support, but I also realized I couldn't navigate this alone. When Mike arrived, I could see the concern etched on his face. He slid into the booth across from me and scanned the room before focusing on me. "What's going on, man?" I took a deep breath, my hands trembling slightly. "It's Sarah. She cheated on me." "Shit, Jake, I'm so sorry." I nodded, feeling the weight of my emotions spilling out. I caught her texting some dude named Mark. It wasn't just harmless. They were meeting up. I don't even know how to deal with it. Wow, that's tough, man. Have you talked to her about it? Yeah, we fought. She's saying it was just emotional, that she felt neglected, but it doesn't excuse what she did. Mike leaned back, processing my words. I can't imagine how painful that is. What are you thinking of doing? I don't know. Part of me wants to walk away and never look back. But another part of me wants to believe that she can change, that we can fix this. Look, it's okay to feel conflicted, he said, placing a hand on my shoulder. You have to do what's best for you. It might be worth sitting down with her again, but only when you're ready. Don't rush into any decisions. I appreciated Mike's perspective. It was refreshing to hear someone acknowledge the complexity of the situation. I don't even know if I can trust her again, I replied, letting my guard down just a little. Trust is everything in a relationship. You shouldn't have to settle for anything less than what you deserve, Mike replied. Take your time, man. Whatever you decide, make sure it's for you. As I sat there listening to Mike, I felt a flicker of clarity. I didn't have to rush into forgiveness or decisions. I could take my time to think this through. I had a right to process my feelings. Thanks, Mike, I said, feeling a sense of gratitude. I really needed to hear that. No problem, man. I'm here for you, he said, and for the first time that day, I felt a little lighter. As I finished my coffee, I realized that even though I was dealing with heartbreak, I had support. I wouldn't be able to control Sarah's actions, but I could control my response. I was done being a victim of her choices. I would decide how to move forward on my own terms. It was time to take back my power. After my talk with Mike, I felt a little more anchored, even if the storm within me hadn't calmed completely. I decided to give myself a few days to process everything before I made any final decisions about Sarah. I needed to think about what I truly wanted and how I wanted to approach this betrayal. Returning home that night, I found Sarah waiting for me, her eyes wide with hope. "Jake, I know you're mad at me," she said, her voice trembling, "but I just want a chance to talk things through. I promise I'll be honest this time." I didn't want to be swept into her emotional pleading again. "Sarah, I need time. I can't just jump back into this like nothing happened," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. She nodded, her face falling. "I know I've messed up, but I swear I'll do anything to fix this. I'll go to therapy. I'll cut off contact with Mark. Just please don't throw us away without trying." I felt torn. Part of me wanted to scream at her for what she had done, while another part still wanted to protect what we had built together. "Right now, I just can't talk," I finally said, my heart heavy as I walked past her and into the bedroom. As I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, I felt the weight of anxiety pressing down on me. I replayed every moment of our relationship, from the magical beginnings to this painful chapter. Thoughts swirled in my mind. Was there still love left? Was it worth trying to salvage? The next morning, I woke up to find Sarah had left the house early for work. The quiet was almost deafening. I brewed a cup of coffee and sat on the porch, reflecting on everything that had happened. I realized that I needed clarity, a plan to confront her that involved more than just emotions. I decided to do some research on infidelity, seeking to understand the dynamics of betrayal and recovery. I looked into couples therapy options, reading reviews and testimonials. I knew that if Sarah was serious about making amends, we would need a professional to help guide us through the overwhelming emotions. When Sarah returned that evening, I was waiting for her in the living room. She looked nervous, her hands fidgeting in her pockets. "Hey," she said, glancing at me. "Hey, I've been thinking about everything," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "I've done some research on couples therapy. If we're going to try to make this work, I think we need professional help." Her face lit up with a mixture of relief and hope. "Really? You're open to trying?" "I'm open to exploring all options," I replied cautiously. "But you need to understand that this isn't just about going to therapy. You need to show me that you're committed to rebuilding our trust." "I promise I will," she exclaimed. "I'll cut all ties with Mark. I want to be transparent with you. I'll do whatever it takes to prove it." "Then let's start with that," I said, feeling a glimmer of hope. "I want you to text him right now and tell him it's over. No more communication, no friendships, nothing." She hesitated for A moment and I could see the fear in her eyes. "Jake, I do it," I said firmly, my heart racing. Reluctantly, she pulled out her phone and typed a message. I watched her face as she hit send, the expression shifting from uncertainty to determination. "It's done," she said quietly, looking up at me. "Good," I replied, feeling a sense of relief wash over me. "This is the first step." We spent the next hour talking about the dynamics of our relationship, the patterns we had fallen into over the years. For the first time in weeks, I felt like we were making progress. We discussed our needs, our fears, and how to communicate more effectively. It felt like a small victory, but one I desperately needed. As the days turned into weeks, we continued to attend couples therapy. It was intense, emotionally draining, and at times agonizing. We peeled back layers of hurt and resentment, forcing ourselves to confront the underlying issues that led to Sarah's infidelity. I listened as she described her feelings of neglect and loneliness, and while I hated hearing that, I realized there was some truth to it. I had been consumed by work, and I had let our emotional connection fade. It didn't excuse her actions, but it provided context to the pain we were both feeling. In therapy, we practiced open communication. I learned to express my feelings without anger while she worked on being more vulnerable. At times, it felt like we were making progress, and at other moments, I felt like we were two ships passing in the night. One day after our session, we returned home and sat in the living room. Sarah turned to me, her eyes filled with emotion. "Jake, this is hard for me. I never wanted to hurt you. I want to make this work, but I know it's going to take time." "I know," I replied, feeling a mix of hope and caution. "But I can't pretend that everything is okay. I need to see consistent effort from you. I can't be the only one working on this." "I promise I will. I want you to trust me again," she said, determination in her voice. We spent hours discussing our goals for the future and what we needed from each other. It was cathartic, and for the first time I felt like we were on the same page, but the lingering doubt still hung over me. Would she truly change, or was this just temporary? As the weeks went by, I found myself oscillating between hope and despair. I tried to focus on the small victories, the moments of laughter, the shared meals, the times we could connect. But the thought of her betrayal still loomed large in my mind. I needed to figure out if I could truly forgive her and rebuild our life together. I didn't want to live in a relationship marked by suspicion and resentment. I had to believe there was a future worth fighting for. One evening, after a particularly intense therapy session, I sat on the porch, contemplating everything that had transpired. I watched the sunset, the sky painted in hues of orange and pink, feeling a sense of calm settle over me. I realized I had to make a choice that would shape my future. I could either choose to forgive and rebuild, or I could walk away and seek something new. The thought of starting over was daunting, but so was the idea of living in a broken relationship. As I sat there, I felt the weight of the decision before me. It wasn't just about Sarah, it was about me and what I needed to find peace. I had to make the decision that was right for both of us, and only time would reveal the true path forward. It was time to dig deep and face the truth about our love. I had to decide if I could reclaim my trust and find a way back to each other. The journey was far from over, but I was ready to see where it would lead. The weeks turned into months, and the journey through therapy was a roller coaster, filled with ups, downs, and unexpected turns. Sarah and I were navigating uncharted territory, trying to rebuild what had been shattered. I tried to focus on the positive changes I saw in her. She was more open about her feelings, and she often initiated conversations that we had previously avoided. It felt like she was genuinely trying to connect again, but the echoes of betrayal lingered in the back of my mind like an unwelcome guest. One night, while we were preparing dinner together, I caught a glimpse of the woman I had fallen in love with. Sarah was laughing as she tried to make pasta from scratch, flour dusting her cheeks. I could see her passion and joy shining through, and for a moment I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe we could rebuild this. Maybe we could find our way back to each other. As we sat down to eat, I decided to bring up our progress in therapy. "I feel like we're making strides," I said, trying to keep my tone light. "You seem really committed to this, and I appreciate that." Her face broke into a smile which made my heart flutter. I am Jake. I want to show you that I can be the partner you deserve. I've realized so much about myself through this process. I never wanted to hurt you. I nodded, feeling a mix of hope and caution. I know it's not easy for you either. I appreciate your effort, but I still have moments where I struggle with everything that happened. I understand, she replied softly. It's going to take time for both of us, but I'm willing to work on it every day. I just want you to know I'm here. I felt a warm wave of affection wash over me, something I hadn't felt in a long time. For the first time in a while, I allowed myself to think that maybe we could heal. But as the evening wore on, a nagging thought crept into my mind. Was I truly ready to forgive her, or was I just clinging to the idea of our past? Later that week, I found myself sitting in therapy, the session feeling particularly intense. Our therapist, Dr. Michaels, guided us through an exercise about trust. Jake, how do you feel about the trust in your relationship right now? She asked, her eyes focused on me. I took a deep breath, my heart racing. It's complicated. I want to trust Sarah, but it feels like I have this constant reminder of the betrayal. It's hard to forget. Dr. Michaels nodded, her expression empathetic. That's completely valid. Trust doesn't come back overnight. It's built through consistent actions over time. Sarah, what steps are you taking to rebuild that trust? I'm trying to be transparent, she said, her voice steady. I've cut off all contact with Mark, and I want to show Jake that he's my priority. I want to share everything, my feelings, my insecurities, my struggles. Good, Dr. Michaels replied. Jake, how do you feel about her efforts? I shifted in my seat, weighing my words. I see the changes she's making, but it still feels fragile. I don't want to be the one who constantly doubts her. I want to believe in her and us, but it's hard. Trust is built through vulnerability, Dr. Michaels said, looking between us. You both need to be open about your fears and insecurities to create a safe space for each other. The session continued, and as we talked, I felt a mix of warmth and unease. I wanted to believe in the path we were forging, but the memories of betrayal still clawed at the back of my mind. After the session ended, I found myself walking home alone, my thoughts swirling. That night, I sat on the porch again, staring at the stars. The cool breeze brushed against my skin, and I tried to breathe deeply, to ground myself in the present. I could hear the faint sound of laughter from inside the house as Sarah watched TV, and I felt an overwhelming urge to reconnect with her. I went inside and found her curled up on the couch, a blanket draped over her. She looked up and smiled, her eyes lighting up when she saw me. Hey, want to join me? I sat down next to her, feeling a warmth spread through me. Yeah, I'd like that. As we sat together, I couldn't help but reflect on the journey we had taken. Part of me longed for the easy love we once shared, while another part of me was terrified of repeating the past. I needed to be honest with her to express where I was in my emotional journey. Sarah, I started, feeling nervous. Can we talk about something serious? Her expression shifted, concern etching her face. Of course. What's on your mind? I've been thinking about how to rebuild our trust, and I need to be honest about how I'm feeling. I want to move forward, but there are days when it still feels heavy. I struggle with reminders of what happened. She nodded, her eyes filled with understanding. I get it. I'm not expecting you to just forget. I want to work through this together, but I need you to tell me when you're feeling doubt or hurt. I want to be here for you. Her words struck a chord within me. I realized that while the road to recovery was challenging, we were both committed to talking about our feelings. It was an essential step in rebuilding what had been lost. I appreciate that, I said, my voice steady. I want to be open with you. We both need to share where we are emotionally. The only way we'll find our way back. As we sat in comforting silence, I felt a flicker of hope igniting within me. Maybe we could find our way back to each other after all. The journey was far from over, but I could sense that we were beginning to understand one another in a way we hadn't before. The next morning, I woke up feeling lighter, as if a burden had been lifted. I could see the sunrise casting a warm glow in our bedroom, and for the first time in a while, I felt optimistic. I knew the road ahead would be difficult, but I was willing to take it one step at a time. The thought of rebuilding trust was daunting, but I was ready to embrace the challenges. And as long as we continued to communicate and remain open with each other, there was a possibility. a glimmer of hope that we could emerge from this stronger than before. But as I would soon find out, the past has a way of reminding you that healing is never a straight path. The real test was yet to come. As the days turned into weeks, I continued to feel the weight of our shared journey. Sarah and I were making strides, slowly rebuilding our emotional connection, but the specter of her infidelity still loomed over us. I wanted to believe we could come out stronger on the other side, but I also knew that trust once broken is difficult to mend. One night, as we sat together at home, I felt a sense of comfort wash over me as we talked about our dreams and future plans. I could see her genuine passion for wanting to rebuild what had been lost. "Jake," she said, her voice soft but steady, "I want us to take a trip together, a weekend away, just the two of us. I think it could help us reconnect." The idea was enticing, and for a moment I felt a rush of excitement. "That sounds great," I replied, smiling. "Where do you want to go?" "Maybe to the cabin in the mountains. It would be nice to get away from everything," she suggested, her eyes brightening at the thought of escaping our routine. I agreed, and we began planning the trip, which felt like a step toward normalcy. As the weekend approached, I felt a mix of hope and anxiety. Was I ready to be in a space with her, away from the reminders of our daily lives? We packed our bags, and as we drove to the cabin, I could feel the tension slowly easing. The mountain stood tall, majestic, and serene, and it felt like a fresh start. We arrived in the late afternoon, the sun casting a golden hue over the landscape. The cabin was cozy, nestled among the trees, and as we settled in, I felt a wave of nostalgia wash over me. This was the place where we had shared so many happy moments before everything had unraveled. That first night, we lit a fire and shared a bottle of wine, reminiscing about our early days together. I found myself laughing, the warmth of the flames flickering against the shadows feeling comforting. It was as if we were stepping back into a part of our lives that had been lost, and I relished the feeling. As the evening wore on, however, I noticed a shift in the atmosphere. I could see the flicker of uncertainty in Sarah's eyes as we talked. "Jake, I just want you to know how much this means to me," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I know we're still healing, but being here with you feels so right." I nodded, my heart swelling with emotion. "I want this to be a fresh start. I want to believe in us again." But just as I felt a sense of hope take root, I received a notification on my phone, a message from an unknown number. I hesitated before opening it, my heart racing as I read the words on the screen. "Hey, just checking in. Hope you're doing well. Mark." My stomach dropped. My first instinct was to toss the phone aside, but I held it tightly, my mind racing. Was this a coincidence, or was Sarah still in contact with him? I looked over at her, watching as a somber expression crossed her face, mirroring my own turmoil. "Jake, what's wrong?" she asked, her voice laced with concern. "It's Mark," I said, my voice low and steady. "He just texted me." Her face went pale, and I could see the panic rising in her eyes. "Oh my God, I thought I told him to leave me alone. I swear I haven't talked to him since I cut ties." "Then why is he reaching out to me?" "This isn't a good sign, Sarah," I replied, feeling the anger and betrayal bubbling up again. "I don't know, I promise I'm not in contact with him. I didn't even know he had your number." "Why would he text me out of the blue? This feels like a violation." I shouted, my emotions spilling over, the fear of betrayal gripping me once again. "I swear it's not what you think. I'll send him another message." "Right now," she pleaded, her voice rising in desperation. I felt my heart racing as I watched her type furiously on her phone. "You need to be honest with me. If this is going to work, I need you to be open, even when it's hard." "I promise I'll be honest. I thought I was done with him. I don't want to keep living in the past. I want a future with you." I took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm inside me. "Then you need to show me that you're serious about this. Trust is built through consistent actions. If he keeps reaching out, it will destroy everything we've been trying to rebuild." She nodded, tears pooling in her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Jake. I'll block him, and I'll let you know if he contacts me again. I won't let this come between us." I felt the tension hanging in the air, a heavy reminder of how fragile our relationship was. But as she spoke, I realized that I had to make a choice. Was I willing to risk everything again, or was it time to walk away? In that moment, I decided I would give her a chance. I wanted to believe in the progress we had made and the potential for our future. I just needed to see her commit to it fully. "Okay," I said, my voice steady. "Let's block him now together." As she blocked Mark's number, a small sense of relief washed over me. It wasn't a solution to everything, but it was a step in the right direction. I could see the determination in Sarah's eyes, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a flicker of hope. After that incident, our trip continued, marked by the raw honesty we had begun to cultivate. We spent our days hiking, exploring, and talking about everything, our fears, our hopes, and the lessons we had learned from the past. By the end of the weekend, something felt different. The burdens of betrayal still lingered, but the bond between us had deepened in ways I hadn't expected. We were both willing to confront the past, and that willingness instilled a new sense of trust. As we drove back home, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. The road ahead would still be filled with challenges, but I was ready to face them. I had learned that relationships aren't just about trust, they're about vulnerability, commitment, and the willingness to grow together. In that moment, I realized that while healing takes time, it is possible to reclaim love and rebuild a relationship after betrayal. I could see a future with Sarah, a future we would build together, one intentional step at a time. And above all, I felt grateful that we were both willing to fight for our love, no matter how difficult the journey might be. It was a journey worth taking.